Imagine a mountain so colossal, so pure, it didn't just hold wealth, it held a curse that would rewrite human history in blood. In 1545, Spanish conquistadors in modern-day Bolivia looked up at a jagged peak called Cerro Rico. The rich mountain. Deep inside its veins was the largest deposit of silver the planet had ever seen. On that day, Potosí became the beating, monstrous heart of a nascent global market. But this wasn't a triumph of discovery. This was the birth of a global meat grinder, engineered by interest-based finance. We are taught a lie in school. We are taught that empires conquered for glory, for land, for God. But Spain? Spain didn't even own its empire. The Spanish crown was caught in a suffocating, terrifying stranglehold of debt. King Charles V, and later his son Philip II, were completely beholden to a ruthless web of international bankers, tycoons like the ultra-wealthy Fugger family of Germany and the cutthroat Spinola family of Genoa. Before a single ounce of silver could even be hacked out of the Andean rock, it was already dead and spent. It belonged to the ledger books of Europe's financial elite. This is where the true horror of interest-based capitalism reveals its face. It is an artificial, parasitic machine that demands infinite growth from a finite world. The Spanish crown was drowning in high-interest loans taken out to fund endless European wars. Because that interest compounded day after day, week after week, never sleeping and never showing mercy, the pressure on the colonies was absolute. To keep the Fuggers and the Spinolas from cutting off their credit, the silver from Potosí could not just be mined, it had to be ripped out at a frantic, unnatural, breakneck speed. The global economy became a roaring furnace that required human flesh as fuel, all to satisfy the cold mathematical tyranny of interest cycles vibrating across the Atlantic. To feed this insatiable interest-based monster, Spanish officials, most notoriously the ruthless Viceroy Francisco de Toledo, turned to a perversion of an ancient Incan labor system called the mamita. Toledo transformed a traditional community service system into a mass-production death sentence. Millions of indigenous men, known as Mateos, were torn away from their wives, their children, and their ancestral lands. They were marched in chains directly into the bowels of the mountain. They called Potosí the Boca del Infierno, the mouth of hell. And it was a literal inferno of human suffering. Under the whips of Spanish overseers, these men worked in pitch blackness, hundreds of feet underground, breathing in toxic dust, knowing that the frequent, thunderous cave-ins could bury them alive at any moment. But the cruelty reached a fever pitch when the Spanish introduced the mercury amalgamation process, pioneered by Bartolomé de Medina. To extract the silver quickly enough to satisfy the compounding interest demands of European banks, the Spanish forced the Mateos to mix the raw silver ore with deadly mercury. They stood waist-deep in toxic sludge, treading the poison with their bare feet for days on end. The mercury ate them alive from the inside out. Their teeth rotted out of their gums. Their bodies began to shake with uncontrollable tremors. Their lungs turned to ash, and their minds fractured into madness. If a worker became too weak to walk, they were beaten or left to die in the dark. Historians estimate that over 3 brutal centuries, up to 8 million indigenous people were consumed, broken, and murdered in and around that single mountain. 8 million beating hearts, 8 million families destroyed, their lives completely liquidated just to keep a European spreadsheet from sliding into a deficit. And for what? What did this unimaginable ocean of blood buy? This is the ultimate, sickening joke of interest-based capitalism. The wealth didn't stay in Spain. It didn't build schools for the Spanish people. It didn't cure diseases. It didn't create a golden age of prosperity for the citizens of Madrid. Instead, the silver flowed straight through Spain like a ghost, completely bypassing the people. It went directly into the vaults of the international financiers in Antwerp, Genoa, and Amsterdam to pay off the interest on the king's debts. From there, it leaked into Asia to buy luxury spices, porcelain, and silks for the ultra-wealthy. Spain was never a true superpower. Spain was just a brutal, heavily armed middleman. A violent, bloody pipeline built to funnel human lives into the pockets of global financiers. The next time you look at a modern financial chart, or hear talking heads speak about the virtues of debt-driven markets, compounding returns, and interest-based growth, remember Potosí. Remember Charles V, Viceroy Toledo, and the Fugger bankers. Remember that the modern global financial system wasn't built on ingenuity or progress. It was built on a mountain of silver, powered by the insatiable greed of interest-based finance, and baptized in the blood of 8 million souls who perished in the mouth of hell.